reacting to your NFL hottest takes before the season. So it's not mid-season or regular season, it's before the season. And then it might be a weekly thing. It might be a weekly thing once the season kicks off. So if you guys want to like shoot your hot takes at me, just follow me on Instagram or Snapchat. That's usually where I throw up the questions or the asks. So all right, see what you guys sent in. See if any hot takes are actually smart takes or they're just all terrible takes. First take by my boy Cam. JD5 is better than Mahomes. No, he's not. Now, statistically, he might be. Hold up. He might be, from last year, statistically better. But is he better overall? Probably not. So, Jayden Daniels' stat line last year, 3,500 yards, 25 touchdowns, 9 picks. Mahomes, 3,900 yards, 26 touchdowns, 11 picks. Mahomes is better. As of right now, that could change. As of right now, Mahomes is better. Career-wise and right now, currently. He's better at all phases. But it's first hot take of the day, boys. We'll see what happens in the next hot take. All right. He is statistically, Mahomes is, he's better at everything except picks. All right, next hot take. Speaking of Jayden Daniels, Klein's, I think it says, Klein's Studios. Bo Nix is going to be better than Jayden Daniels next year. Now, he's saying this year, technically, so I can't really go based off stats of last year. But I'll give my thoughts on it. I disagree. I think Jayden Daniels will have a better year, even though he will have a regression from his career or his rookie year. But I think Jayden Daniels has more weapons, and I think they have a better offense, meaning he'll have better numbers than Bo Nix, in my opinion. All right, next hot take. Tyreek Hill. Pack says Tyreek Hill is still a top 5 wide receiver. He's not. I'll look at him right now. Okay. So top 5 would be. So he says Tyreek Hill is still a top 5 receiver. I'll give you 5 receivers better than Tyreek Hill right now. Where are they? Jefferson, better than Tyreek Hill. A.J. Brown, better than Tyreek Hill. Where is my boy? Dude, it's so hard to find people. These names should be bigger. Jamar Chase, better than Tyreek Hill. DK Metcalf, better than Tyreek Hill. And who's my 5th? Where is CeeDee? CeeDee, where are you? Am I blind? I'm blind as a bat. There he is. These 5 receivers are better than Tyreek Hill. So, Tyreek Hill cannot be a top 5 receiver currently because he's not better than Justin Jefferson, A.J. Brown, Jamar Chase, DK Metcalf, and CeeDee Lamb. So, it's impossible. Apologies, brother. All right, moving on to Brennan. This is not good timing, boys. Not good timing at all. Brennan says, Justin Fields' MVP season. That dream is already dead, unfortunately. Might have a broken toe, might be out for 6 weeks. He is not getting MVP. That dream is dead. Moving on. Mason says, Panthers win the NFC South this season. Do we agree with Mason? Panthers win the NFC South. Let's see the Panthers. Let's look at the Panthers schedule. Let's take a gander at the Panthers schedule. See what they're rocking with this year. Schedule. All right. Week 1 at Jacksonville. That's a win. They beat Jacksonville. So 1-0. They're 1-0. Week 2 at Arizona. It's a tough game. But I'm going to give them a win. 2-0. Week 3. First home game of the season versus Atlanta. First division game. That's a W. 3-0 for the Panthers. Week 4 at New England. That's an L. That's a hard game. We're in New England. New England might be a little better this year. That's a hard game. 3-1. Back at home versus Miami, week 5. That's a dub. 4-1. Versus Dallas, week 6. At home. That's an L. 4-2. At New York, week 7. That might be an easy dub. 5-2. Week 8, home versus Buffalo. At least they got him home, but that's an L. 5-3. Week 9 at Green Bay. That's a loss. 5-4. They got an easy game week 10 versus Saints at home. That's a dub. 6-4. They play Atlanta in Atlanta week 11. That's an L because it's in Atlanta. This might be hard to beat them twice. 6-5. So 6-5 by week 12. That's not bad. Then they play in San Francisco Monday Night Football. That's an L. So they're 6-6 going into week 13. At home versus the Rams. They lose that game versus the Rams. They're 6-7 going into the bye week. So theoretically, Mason's right. They do have a chance to win the division. But going 6-7 to the bye week, they pretty much have to win out. So can they win out? They versus Saints in New Orleans. That's a win. They sweep the Saints this year because the Saints are awful. So they're 7-7 going to week 16. Versus Tampa at home. That's a dub. So now they're 8-7 going into week 17. Then they play Seattle at home. They're not in Seattle. That's a dub. So they're 9-7 going into at Tampa Bay. So that might be for the division. Week 18 at Tampa Bay might be for the division. They lose that game. They go 9-8. They don't win the division. But they have a possibility. The Panthers have a possibility to win the NFC South this year. It's very possible. I don't think they win it, but I think they go 9-8, which is not bad. I just don't think they win it at 9-8. All right, moving on. My boy Jacob says, ooh, I like this one. I like this one, boys. I like this one. Aaron Rodgers will bring the Steelers into another dynasty era. Now, you might be thinking a biased answer is coming. It's not. I partially agree with him. I don't think the dynasty will happen with Rodgers, but it might begin with Rodgers. So he might start the dynasty, then retire, and then my boy Will Howard takes off, and we're back in Super Bowls. But I don't think Aaron Rodgers is here for the dynasty because he probably retires after this year. But he might start the dynasty. He might give some seedings to the dynasty. He might help out the dynasty out a little bit. But I don't think he'll be here for the whole dynasty run. He'll be here just from the beginning. No glaze, strictly unbiased. That was actually unbiased. Because if I was biased, I would say he'd be here for the whole dynasty run and he'd play 4 more years and win 4 more MVPs. But I'm not biased. I'm an unbiased NFL fan. Moving on. My boy Tucker says, oh boy, boys, we got to break out the QB tier ranking for this. Hold up. Oh boy. Hold up. Okay, my boy Tucker says Hurts is a top 5 quarterback. Now, for some reason, this is a hot take. I don't know why Hurts gets so much like top 5 love, but I think he's a great quarterback. He's not a top 5 quarterback, and I'm going to give you 5 quarterbacks that are better than Hurts right now. Got the tier ranking list up already? All right, close out of these. So top 5, Josh Allen. This is so hard. Hold on. Josh Allen, better than Hurts. Obviously, Mahomes, better than Hurts. Where's my other guys? Joe Burrow, obviously, better than Hurts. Where's my other guys? Wait, what am I missing? Who am I missing? Oh, Lamar. Lamar, better than Hurts. And now, you really could not go wrong with a couple guys, but I'm personally going to go Matthew Stafford. I think he's still better than Hurts. I think he's still top 5 quarterback, especially with a healthy season. So those would be my 5. Hurts is not in my 5 yet. I could change my mind after this year. But right now, Hurts is not a top 5 quarterback, even though he won a ring. Just because you have a ring doesn't mean you're a top 5 quarterback. Hurts is great, but he's not top 5. Moving on. AK says, now this is a hot take, because this is my MVP. He's coming after my MVP right now. AK says, Dak, let me clear my throat real quick for this one. Dak is the worst quarterback in the league. That is just false. For some reason, people, well, actually, I know why. People hate the Cowboys. And people hate Dak because they hate the Cowboys. Dak is not the worst quarterback in the league. Not even close, actually. He's probably top 10. Dak's probably a top 10 quarterback. He's not even close to the worst quarterback in the league, statistically or just like watching with your own eyes. And he probably wins MVP this year. So I guess he'll shut up my boy AK this year, or he won't. But he's a very good chance of winning MVP this year. So we'll see if he's the worst quarterback in the league or he's a top 5 quarterback in the league this year. I think it's the top 5 part. Moving on. Highland, I think it says. Highland says Chiefs Cowboys in the Super Bowl. Wow. So we had terrible love for the Cowboys right there. Now we're bringing the Cowboys back. I can see that. I'm not going to lie. I can see that easily. I can see Chiefs going on a little revenge season. They're bringing back most of their guys. They got new guys. They have a pretty good receiving core. They have Mahomes, obviously. They still have Kelsey. They still have Andy Reid. They have a solid defense. And I think the Cowboys are going to surprise a lot of people this year. I think they're going to have a really good offense this year, and it really depends on how the defense does. But if their defense holds up, I think they can make some noise. So I don't hate that take, even though I want the Cowboys-Steelers, but I could definitely see the Chiefs-Cowboys. I can definitely see it. August says GP is a top 7 receiver and has the best hands in the league. Now, I think the top 7 part is a hot take. The best hands in the league part is not a hot take. He has the best hands in the league. He has the best catch in the last, 10 years in the NFL? Easily. Easily. Probably better than OBJ's catch, but he definitely has the best catch in the last 10 years. He's made incredible catches throughout his whole career, even in college. He's had a bunch of good catches in college. And I really don't think that is the hot take part. Now, the hot take part is GP is a top 7 receiver, which I agree with. That is a hot take. I'm going to list my top 7 right now. I already have my top 5. Obviously, you guys saw it. So I'll go to my top 7. But I don't think he cracks top 7. So my top 5 is Jefferson, A.J. Brown, Jamar Chase, DK, CD. I need 2 more. Let me see if he cracks. If he cracks the top 7, he cracks top 7. I probably put Amon-Ra in there. So that's 6. And let me see who's... Oh my gosh, is he a top 7 receiver? Hold on, he might be a top 7 receiver. Hold on. Oh my gosh, is GP a top 7 receiver? Why did the Steelers trade a top 7 receiver? Now I'm looking at the receivers. He might be top 7. Not even being biased. He's not even on the Steelers anymore, so I can't be biased. Wow, it's not a hot take. GP is a top 7 receiver. That's crazy. That is unbelievable. August is right. GP is a top 7 receiver. Not even being biased. Like I said, he's on the Cowboys anymore. So I can't even be biased over him. I think that's a great 7. Jefferson, A.J. Brown. If I had to do an order, it'd be like this. Jefferson, Jamar, A.J., DK, CD, Amon-Ra, GP. That's crazy. So the Cowboys have 2 receivers in the top 7 in the NFL. They might have the best offense in the league this year. That's insane. And again, like I said, no bias. He's not in the Steelers anymore. I have no need to be biased to him anymore. That's nuts. All right. Moving on. What a take by my boy August. That's a great take. That's the best take of the day so far. Sir Zellington says, Cam Newton is right about Jalen Hurts not being a top 10 quarterback. Oh boy. He said that? Cam Newton said that? All right, back to the QB tier list we go, boys. Back to the QB tier list we go. We got to make our top 10 quarterbacks. Let's see if Jalen Hurts cracks it. Is that a hot take? Is Jalen Hurts a top 10 quarterback? Let's find out right now. Back to the top 10, Bart. All right. So this is going to be, I'll do it in order. In order right now, best quarterbacks in the league. Lamar, Burrow, Mahomes, Allen, Stafford, Herbert, Dak. What is that? 7? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We need 3 more. Does Hurts fit the 3 more? I think he does. He does. I think he does. Hold on. Let me look through this just in case. Yeah, he does. No, he's top 10. Hurts is top 10. Yeah, Hurts is probably right after Dak. Hurts is top 10. He's top 10. Then I'd probably put Love at 9, and then probably Rodgers at 10. That'd probably be my top 10. So Hurts fits the top 10. So that's a hot take. I don't think Cam Newton is right about Hurts not being a top 10. Especially right now, currently in the league, he's definitely top 10. Not top 5, but he's top 10. So that is definitely a hot take. All right, on to the next one, boys. On to the next one. Michael says, Lions fans, You're not going to like this one. Lions fans, I promise you're not going to like this one. Michael says, the Lions are frauds and will miss the playoffs. Let's see if that's a hot take. Let me go to the Lions schedule. Will the Lions make the playoffs this year, or will they miss the playoffs this year? My boy Michael says they're frauds. All right, let's do the Lions schedule, boys. At Green Bay week 1. That's an L. At home for Chicago. That's an easy dub. So they're 1-1. Wow, that's a tough game. At Baltimore, week 3 in Baltimore. That's an L. So they're 1-2. Cleveland at home, easy dub. Rocking Cleveland, 2-2. At Cincy, week 5, that's a dub. 3-2. At KC, wow. At KC, that's hard. Oh my goodness, they have a really hard schedule for the first 8 weeks. At KC, week 6, that's an L. So they're 3-3. Versus Tampa Bay, Monday Night Football at home, that's a dub. So they're 4-3. 4-3 going to the bye. Yikes. That's hard. 4-3 going to the bye is tough, actually. Then they have Minnesota at home after the bye. That's a dub, 5-3. At Washington, they probably want to get some revenge, but they don't. Washington smacks them, 5-4. Then at Philly, 5-5. Oh, my goodness. They're 5-5 going to New York. Then they play New York at home. That's an easy dub. They might walk them. They might score 70 on New York. So they're 6-5 going into Green Bay at home. They win that game. They're 7-5 at home versus Dallas. Thursday Night Football. That's an L. Dallas comes in, smacks them. So they're 7-6 now. Then they go to L.A. That's an L. 7-7. Then they first Pittsburgh. And that's when the Steelers are going to be probably really hot because they play really well in December. So they probably lose that game too. And then they're 7-8. And then they have 2 games on the road to finish the year off. I'll say they split those games. Wow. The Lions are not making the playoffs this year. They're going to finish 9-8. That is not a hot take by my boy Michael. Michael with a great take. So the Lions don't make the playoffs this year. I got to redo I got to look these schedules. I didn't know the Lions had this hard of a schedule. Is this the hardest schedule in the league? That's a very difficult schedule. And they're losing a bunch of coaching staffs, a bunch of guys on the coaching staff. I think they lost 8 coaches. The Lions are going to miss the playoffs this year. That is unbelievable. Man, they really had their window last year. They blew it. That's crazy. All right, moving on, boys. That's crazy. All right, moving on. That was a great take by Michael. So we've had some good takes, some bad takes, but we have some good takes. James, all right, this is a crazy take, boys. We got a crazy take. I got to pull up the unis, boys. Boys. Hold up. I got to pull up the unis. You already know where I'm going. This is a crazy take, but I got to pull up the unis. Hold up. Then I'll read and then I'll read it out. Okay, my boy James says, the Browns unis are not that bad. You're telling me these are not that bad? You're telling me the poop unis, word on the street, the poop unis sponsored by Dude Wipes are not that bad? Are Browns fans comfortable with people calling these the poop unis? Do you like wearing the poop unis? These are the worst jerseys. Well, second worst jerseys in the league. The Browns jerseys all are that bad, and then some. These are top 2 worst jerseys in the league, sponsored by Dude Wipes. So that's a hot take by boy James, because these are the worst unis in the league. They could have done so many better uni options. Maybe bring back the orange jerseys with the white face masks or something, but these just, there's too much poop. There's just too much. I don't know. It's unfortunate, but like I said, typical Browns, unfortunately. Baltaser, I think it's. I don't think that's how you say that, but that's what I'm reading. This is another hot take, boys. Very hot. I don't think this is a good take, but this is a very hot take. Justin Jefferson is overrated. Only popular because of the gritty. That one catch from the Bills game, Poyer held it on for him. Diggs was better that game anyways. Was Diggs better that game anyways? So his hot take is Justin Jefferson is overrated. I don't think 7,400 yards receiving in 4 years? Has he played 4 years? I just don't think that's overrated. I'm not gonna lie. I don't think He's played 4 years, right? Yeah, I don't think that's a good take. I don't think almost 8,000 yards receiving, almost 10,000 yards receiving in 4 years, that just can't be overrated. It's not possible. He's actually on pace to be the greatest receiver of all time. So that might be the worst take we've had so far, unfortunately. Sorry for trashing like that. Balataser, I think that's how you say it. But that might have been the worst take of the day. It might have been. Moving on. We got Jason. Uh-oh. I like this take. Jason says, Steelers are good. Now, define good. Because good could be 10-7. Good can be 9-8. Good can be 12-5. I don't know. Let's jump into the schedule and see how good they are. All right. This is Unbiased, boys. Pretend I'm not a Steeler fan. This is Unbiased. I'm reacting to the Steelers schedule. I will give you my honest, unbiased thoughts right here. Week 1 in New York. That's a dub. Justin Fields not going to play. They might spank them. They're 1-0. Week 2 at home for Seattle. That's a dub. That's not even a hard game. I don't know how you can, they're at home. They're not in Seattle. They already beat Seattle in Seattle 2 years ago. So they're at home versus Seattle. That's a dub. 2-0. Week 3 at New England. This might be tough. But I'm going to compare it to last year's game versus the Broncos when they had to play in Denver and they beat Denver. I think they go into New England and beat New England. 3-0. Then they play Minnesota in Ireland. I think JJ is still going to be a little antsy, a little rough. He's going to have to play one of the best defenses in the league. That's a dub. They're 4-0 going to the bye. So 4-0 into the bye. I'm liking that so far. So the Steelers are 4-0 going to the bye. Then they got Cleveland at home. That's a dub. 5-0. Then they got Cincy Thursday night. This is a hard game. I agree they're going to lose this game. They're losing to Cincy. That's going to be the first loss. We can't go 17-0. It happens. They lose to Cincy on a short week. Back-to-back divisional opponents again for some reason. I don't know why they keep doing that to us, but they do. So that's a loss. So they're 5-1 going into Green Bay at home. Rodgers' first game versus Green Bay with the Steeler Union. Do you think he's losing that game? No. That's a dub. With the throwbacks on, with the cleanest unis in the league. They cannot lose that game. That's a dub. So now we're at what? 6-1? 6-1 going Indy? At home versus Indy? That's a dub. What are we going to lose to Daniel Jones? So that's 7-1, right? 7-1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7-1 going into Los Angeles. That's an L. I think the Chargers will be good this year. It's a hard game. The Steelers usually bring a good crowd into Los Angeles, but that's probably an L. So 7-2 going in at home versus Cincy. I don't think they're getting swept for Cincy. I don't think you think they're getting swept for Cincy. Cincy has no defense. They're going to be at home versus defense, or at home versus Cincy. Coming off a loss, they're going to be charged up. That's a dub. 8-2 going into Chicago at Chicago. That could be tough, but I don't think Chicago's that good. That's a dub. 9-2 going into the game of the week on CBS, 4:25 versus Buffalo at home. Everyone in the chat thinks I'm going to say this is an L because it's Buffalo, Josh Allen, the MVP. Wrong. That's a dub. They're at home. The terrible towels are going to be waving. Renegade's going to be playing. They're at home. It's November 30th. Football weather. That's an easy dub. Not an easy dub. It's a dub, though. So what are they, 9-2 now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Wait. I lost track. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10-2. 10-2 going into Baltimore. That's an L. I'm not biased. I mean, that's an L. That's a hard game. Why is that a 1 o'clock game? How is the Steelers versus the Ravens, when the Steelers are coming in at 10-2, a 1 o'clock game on CBS? Why are the Steelers and Ravens not getting a Sunday night game? This should be a Sunday night game. Anywho, that's an L, unfortunately. Then they bounce back. Long week versus Miami. Monday Night Football, that's a dub. Miami's going to be terrible this year. Tyreek might not even play in that game, probably be traded already. Tua's probably, unfortunately, going to be hurt by that time. That's a dub. So they're 11-3 going into Detroit. And like I said, with the Detroit version of the schedule, that's a win. So now they're 12-3. 12-3 going into Cleveland. That's a dub. I really hope. I wish the Cleveland Browns were in the poop unis this game. But that's a dub. They're sweeping Cleveland this year. They should have swept them last year. The reason why they lost last year because of the snow game. So that's another dub. So they are 1-0, 2-0, 3-0, 4-0, 5-0, 5-1, 6-1, 7-1, 7-2, 8-2. No, Yeah, 8-2, 9-2, 10-2, 10-3, 11-3, 12-3, 13-3. So this game will probably be for the division. The 13-3 Steelers versus the 13-3 most likely Baltimore Ravens. I'll give you boys a toss-up on that game. Personally, like I said, they lose to Baltimore week 14, and I don't think they get swept versus Baltimore. So I think the Steelers win week 18. They go 14-3, and they get the number one seed in the NFL, AFC. And I legitimately don't think that's a crazy take. You just saw me go through the schedule, being unbiased, and I literally gave my thoughts on every game. I don't think that's a crazy take. And like I said, I didn't even think they go 14-3 2 months ago, but now with the team they have, they can win these games. These are not crazy games to win. Like I said, the games are going to be hard. Of course, Baltimore, that's a loss. In Cincy, that's a loss. In LA, that's a loss. At Detroit, it's going to be tough, but they're going to win that game because Detroit's probably not going to be as good this year. And then Baltimore at home, they're at home. They're not getting swept to Baltimore. It's not that crazy. And it's going to happen. That's crazy. All right, so Steelers are 14-3, and they're going to be the number one seed. Come back to this clip because I'm probably going to be right. Moving on. My boy Jason with a great take. Steelers are going to be good. I like that take, Jason. All right, moving on. Tyler, J.J. McCarthy will be a top 10 quarterback by the end of the year. J.J. McCarthy will be a top 10 quarterback by the end of the year. How are we feeling about that? Is that cap? All right, back to the quarterback tier list we go, boys. We got to see who he could be better than. I don't think he can be a top 10. I just don't think it can happen. I don't think it's possible. I mean, it's possible, but he'd have to have a really good year. He'd also have to have, I mean, he has two of the best receivers in the league on his team, so that could help. But like I said, top 10, is JJ fitting there? It's Lamar, it's Mahomes, it's Burrow, it's Dak, it's Stafford, it's Hurts is in there. Nah, he's not in there. Yeah, he's not in there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He's got to be. Who am I missing? I'm missing somebody. Josh Allen. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, I mean, he's got to beat these guys. I mean, I don't know how you can go top 10. It's going to be tough. Like I said, JJ could be top 10 because he has Justin Jefferson. He has Addison, but does he go top 10? It's basically his first year coming off an injury. I think it's a hot take, but it could happen. I just don't see it happening. But I'm going to go with a hot take. I don't think that happens. But I'm rooting for him. You never know. Just not versus Steelers. All right, moving on. Reed. All right, we're back to, I agree with this. I agree with Reed. I think we already went over this, but I'll do it again. Reed says Dak is easily a top 10 quarterback. Easily a top 10 quarterback. I agree. And I think he's going to show everybody this year. I would definitely put Dak in my top 10. I mean, we just did this, but I'll do it again. Definitely Joe. Definitely him. Definitely Mahomes and definitely Lamar. Hurts definitely Stafford. Yeah, I mean, right? I mean, he's probably like top 7. I mean, Dak's top 10 is even top 10's a hot take because he's probably closer. He's probably top 7. I go Dak top 7. Top 10 regular season, bottom 10 playoff QB for real. Now that's not a hot take because that's correct as of right now. He's right now a top 10 regular season quarterback. He has to prove it in the playoffs, which I think he does this year. But we'll see. I mean, Dak's my MVP, so I got to ride Dak. But I think he proves it this year in the playoffs. I mean, I think the Cowboys shocked a lot of people. Moving on. Yeah, top 5 would be a hot take for Dak. Top 10 is not a hot take. Dominic. Now, this is a hot take. This is a stupid take. This is a dumb take. Not one of probably the dumbest takes I've seen so far yet today. But Dominic says Lamar isn't a top 5 quarterback. That's wrong. That is completely wrong. It's just wrong. He's wrong. It's a bad hot take because he's wrong. Lamar is a top 5 quarterback. Lamar actually is currently, right now, he is the best quarterback in the game. He's not just top 5, he's top 1. So saying Lamar isn't a top 5 quarterback doesn't make sense because he's the best quarterback in the league. So he has to be top 5 theoretically. So that's probably a rage bait take because it's not a good take. It's a bad hot take. It's a bad hot take. Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of rage bait. It's definitely rage bait. What up, MD? Moving on. Joseph says, oh, my boy Joseph agrees with me. I didn't even read this yet. Now I'm reading it. It's about the Lions. Hold on. Ready? Joseph says, the Lions aren't sustainable. The Lions aren't a sustainable team. No good playoff history, correct, and an aging quarterback. They had a good season last year on an easier schedule. I said the same thing. Easier schedule. This year, I don't even see them winning the NFC North. Joseph, I agree with you. I do. I already went over the Lions schedule. I have them 9-8. I don't think they win the NFC North. They might not even make the playoffs this year. The Lions might not make the playoffs this year. And I don't even think that's a hot take because of how hard their schedule is and how many coaches they've lost. And I guess they have an aging quarterback, too. I guess Jared Goff's getting old. That's what my boy Joseph says, so I believe him. I agree with Joseph. I don't think the Lions win the NFC North this year. And I think a lot of you guys in chat agree. Do you guys agree? Al, you're on the beach right now? Respect that, brother. How do we give your hot takes? Hit me on Snapchat and Instagram when I put the polls up or the questions up. But I'll do that again once. I'll tell you guys once I do it again. But is that a hot take? I don't think the Lions win the NFC North. I don't think that's a hot take. I think that's a great take. All right, moving on. Adam says, Mahomes is not a top 5 quarterback, and he's nowhere near the GOAT conversation. Yeah, that's a bad take. That's definitely a bad take. He's very near the GOAT conversation, actually. He's very near the GOAT conversation. He has 32,000 yards with 245 touchdowns. He was drafted in 2017. He's on pace. He already has 3 rings. He's on pace probably for a couple more rings. He's probably going to break every record Tom Brady has because the league's more passing now. And Tom Brady wasn't passing this much in his beginning of his career like Mahomes is. I mean, Mahomes had like the best season of all time, basically, his first year as a starter. He threw for 5,000 yards, basically his rookie year. Mahomes is definitely near the GOAT conversation. Even if you hate Mahomes, he's definitely near the GOAT conversation. Yeah, he doesn't have 7 rings yet, but he already has 3, and he's only been in the league for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years. He probably will play another 10 years. So, and he probably will get another couple more rings. Does he get 7 rings? I don't know. But he definitely breaks a lot of records, and he probably holds, I mean, he's going to probably have all Tom Brady's records by the time he's done his career. As of being top 5 in the league right now, I mean, again, it's a bad take. It's Lamar, it's Burrow, and then it's Mahomes. So he's definitely top 5 because Mahomes right now is 3rd best quarterback in the league. So he's definitely top 5. So that's a bad take by Adam. But hey, we're welcoming all takes. We're welcoming all takes, but it's a bad take. Moving on. Moving on. My boy No says, Broncos fans, you guys are going to like this in the chat. Bronco fans are going to like this in the chat. Lock in Bronco fans for me. Broncos, if healthy, keyword, if healthy, will be the best, not one of, the best. Actually, well, he didn't say that. He said they will be the team to beat in the AFC. So theoretically, best team in the AFC. Let's take a look at the Broncos schedule, boys. What are the Broncos schedules looking like? What is the Broncos schedule looking like? This is a live reaction to the Broncos schedule. How good will the Broncos be this year? Will they be the team to beat in the AFC this year? Let's find out. Week 1 versus Tennessee. That's an easy dub. Oh, my goodness gracious. The Broncos are going to bully Cam Ward. Oh, my gosh. Boys, if you are religious, pray for Cam Ward. That is going to be a scary game. Your first game of your career in the NFL is versus the Denver Broncos, one of the best defenses in the league. Are you crazy? That is crazy. They just set that boy for failure like that. All right. 1-0. Then they play in Indy. They're not losing to Daniel Jones, especially with that defense. 2-0. Then they play in LA. That's a loss. That's a hard game. It's in LA. Divisional opponent. First loss of the year. 2-1. Then they play in Cincy, Monday Night Football. That's going to be a good game. At home, they're smacking Cincy. 3-1. Then they play at Philly. That's a loss. That's a hard game. That's going to be a really good game, though. Denver versus Philly. That's a really good game. It'll be a loss. So 3-2. That's not bad. 3-2 going into New York. I think that's an overseas game. That's a dub. So 4-2 going to New York. Again, Giants. They played New York back-to-back weeks. That's another dub. 5-2. They play Dallas at home. That's probably a dub. That's a hard game for Dallas. In Denver, in the high breathing altitude or whatever. So that's probably an L. George Pickens going to be huffing and puffing that whole game. So they're 6-2 going into Houston. That's a dub. 7-2. Wow. So the Broncos might be like that this year. Hold up. Am I sleeping on the Broncos? Then going into Las Vegas, 8-2. They're home versus Las Vegas, 8-2. That's an easy dub. 8-2 Thursday Night Football. Then they play at home versus Kansas City. I love them at home versus KC. That's a dub. 9-2. Wow. So Denver's 9-2 going to the bye. Wow. So Steelers and Denver are going to be neck and neck for that number 1 spot. Then they play in Washington. That's a hard game. That's a loss. 9-3. That's a very hard game. Sunday Night Football. That'll be a good game. That's actually when Washington wears their throwback unis. Then they play at LA or Las Vegas. That's another hard game because they have to sweep the Raiders, but I don't think they sweep the Raiders, especially because that'll be when the Raiders are probably playing better football because they'll have Pete Carroll for a couple, or no more than a couple because it's December, so a couple months. And then Genti will probably be better because it'll be later in his season. I think they lose that game. So what is that? 1-0, 2-0, 2-1, 3-1, 3-2, 4-2, 5-2, 6-2, 7-2, 8-2, 9-2, 9-3, 9-4. 9-4 going into or at home versus Green Bay. I think they bounce back. That's a dub. 10-4. Then they play Jacksonville at home. That's another dub. 11-4. Then they play in KC. That's an L. 11-5. Here it is. I'm right. All right. So boom. So they're 11-5 going to Los Angeles, and this is probably going to be for the division, in my opinion. I think for the division, Los Angeles the Chargers versus the Broncos at home in Denver is going to be for the division. I think they lose that game. I think LA wins the division. So the Broncos won't be the team to beat in the AFC, but I think they definitely will have a really good season. They'll probably have 11 wins, and they'll probably make the playoffs. But I think we're going to have 2 games, Week 18 for the division. I think we're going to have the Ravens Steelers, and that's going to be flexed to Sunday night. And then we're going to have Chargers Broncos, and that'll probably be flexed to 4 o'clock. We're going to be eating good Week 18, boys. I am hyped. Oh, my goodness. That's going to be nice. Moving on. I don't hate that take, though. I think the Broncos have a good year. They're not the team to beat, though. Chris, boys, I'm liking this take. Chris says DK is going to be the best, not one of, the best receivers in the league this year. Now, I know you guys are going to think I'm glazing. I know everyone's going to be like, oh, he's a Steeler fan, he's glazing. Oh, he's a Steeler fan, he's glazing. Let's just take a look. Let's just take a look at the numbers DK was putting up when he was in Seattle. 900 yards, 1,300 yards, 900 yards, 1,000, 900 yards. Keyword, last year, he didn't even play the full season. So he should have had over 1,000 yards with Geno Smith as his quarterback. Can you imagine DK Metcalf with Aaron Rodgers, one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, as his quarterback? I don't think, and I'm not even joking, I would say this not even as a Steeler fan. I think DK Metcalf's a top 5 receiver in the league. I think it's very possible that he has the best season as a receiver this year in the NFL. I think it's possible because he has, like I said, Aaron Rodgers coming in. Aaron Rodgers is literally his best quarterback he's ever played with in his career. So he's going to have better numbers regardless. So his best season was 2020. He had 1,300 yards. He's probably going to have at least 1,600 this year. Because, like I said, he's playing with the best quarterback he's ever played with in his life, a Hall of Famer, one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, Aaron Rodgers. Most say the most talented quarterback of all time, Aaron Rodgers. He knows how to get DK the ball. DK knows how to catch the ball. It's going to be magical. And the Steelers have a great running game. They have 2 great running backs, so the defense has to come in on the running backs. They have to play the run, which leads DK Metcalf scoring TDs and catching passes. I don't think it's a hot take. My boy Chris says DK is going to be the best receiver in the league this year. I don't think it's a hot take. I don't. And I would say that not even as a Steeler fan. I would literally say that as strictly an unbiased NFL fan. Moving on. I don't hate that take. We'll see what happens. I don't hate that take. My boy Zeke. I agree with Zeke. He says Dak will win MVP next season. I agree. I think adding GP to the team, I know it hurts. It pains me to say this. It pains me to say it. It pains me to say it. Adding GP to the team, having hopefully a healthy CD, a healthy Ferguson. Then they got the small dude that runs really fast. I forget his name. Kirkpatrick, I think? No, that's not his name. It's a small dude. He's a punt returner. He always runs really fast. He's a good slot. I think if Dak stays healthy and the Dallas Cowboys stay healthy, I think Dak has a career year. His best year is 2019. I think he passes for more than 5,000 yards this year. I don't think that's a crazy take. I think CD has a great year this year. CD probably has a career year because he finally has a number wide receiver 2 on his side. And then I think GP also has a career year because he has CD on his side. So I think Dak's easily getting about 3,500 to 4,000 yards from just them two. And then factor in everybody else, factor in Ferguson, factor in the small dude that runs fast. And then the other receivers they got. I mean, I could see Dak throwing for 5,000 yards with 35-plus TDs and having a career year and leading the Cowboys to a division title and then probably get MVP. So I don't really think my boy Zeke, ironically named after Ezekiel Elliott, I don't think that's a hot take. I think Dak is the MVP this year, and I think he's going to win it. And I think he's going to be shown him. I think he's going to show people this year why he's a top 5 quarterback in the league, especially with the guys he has. Now, this might age very bad, or it might not. We'll see. Moving on. Eddie says, Patriots have a winning record. All right, let's dive into the Patriots schedule, boys. Do you agree with Eddie? Do the Patriots have a winning record this year, boys? Do the Patriots have a winning record this year? Let's see what their schedule is looking like. All right, they got the Raiders week 1 at home. That's a dub. Easy dub. That's a dub. Then they play Miami at Miami week 2. That's a dub. They don't play well in Miami. Psych, I lied. That's an L. They never play well in Miami. That's an L. They're 1-1. Then they play week 3 in Pittsburgh. Oh, no, at home. My bad. Versus Pittsburgh. That's an L. They're not beating Pittsburgh, especially those first couple weeks. I already explained why, but Rodgers is going to get his footing back. DK's probably going to be balling. The defense is going to be the defense. Drake May might be seeing ghosts. They lose that game. 1-2. Versus Carolina, they lose that game. 1-3. At Buffalo, they lose that game. 1-4. Oh, boys. At New Orleans, bounce back win. They win that game. They are now, what are they, 2-4? 1-1 or 1-0, 1-1, 1-2, 1-3, 1-4, 2-4. Then they play at Tennessee, that's a dub, 3-4. Then they play versus Cleveland at home, that's a dub, 4-4. Play at home versus Atlanta, it might be tough, but I'll give them a dub. I'll give them 5-4. I'll give them 5-4. At Tampa Bay, that's an L, 5-5. At home versus New York, that's a dub, 6-5. At Cincy, that's tough. If they're at home, they might beat Cincy. That's a loss. So they're 6-6 now, right? 6-6. Then they play New York. Ooh, that's a gross Monday Night Football game. Why are the Patriots playing the New York Giants on Monday Night Football? We couldn't find a better game for that? Are we serious? All right, that's a win, whatever. So they're 7-6. Then they play Buffalo. That's an L. 7-7. Ooh. At Baltimore, that's a bad L. 7-8. They might get smacked by Baltimore. 7-8. Then they play at New York. Justin Fields might be healthy for some reason. New York's going to be going to try to win, even though they don't need to win because they're probably going to be playing for like a top 5 draft pick. They lose that game. 7-9, and then they play Miami. All right, so they probably win versus Miami. So I don't think the Patriots have a winning record. I don't think they have a winning record. I think they go 8-9. They're close. They're right there. But they don't have a winning record this year. I don't think the Patriots have a winning record this year. They're close, though. Maybe next year, but not this year. Moving on. My boy Swayer. I think Swayer. All right. Swayer says, Pickens and CeeDee will be the best duo this year in the NFL. How are we feeling about that? Will Pickens and CeeDee be the best duo in the NFL this year? I'm going to have to agree with him. I'm just going to unfortunately, I don't want it to happen as a Steeler fan. I would love my boy DK and Calvin Austin be the best receivers, but I think it's going to happen. Let's just take a look at their stats. So CeeDee's best year was 2023 with 1,700 yards. I think he's a better year than that. I think he gets at least 1,800 yards, at least 12 touchdowns like he did in 2023. So right there, that's almost 2,000 yards receiving. And then Pickens for sure has a career year this year. His best year so far was 2023 with only 1,100 yards. He definitely has a better year than that. He probably gets at least 1,300 yards and way more touchdowns. So he probably gets at least 9 touchdowns. So I agree with Sawyer. I think CD and Pickens probably have they're probably going to be the best duo in the league this year, especially with Dak slinging the ball, and he's probably going to win MVP. I think that's the best duo. I think you're looking at him. All right, moving on. That was a good one. Dominic again. Chiefs don't make the playoffs. Now, this is a hot take. This is a hot take. Now we got to go to the Chiefs schedule because this is a hot take. I'm not going to say anything yet. I don't know if I agree with it. I got to look at the schedule. Dominic says Chiefs don't make the playoffs. Chat, how are we feeling? Do the Chiefs make the playoffs or do they miss the playoffs? Let's go into the schedule. Week 1 versus LA, 8 o'clock on Friday night. They lose that game. The Chiefs finally start 0-1. Actually, not finally. They started 0-1 2 years ago. They start 0-1. Then we got a Super Bowl rematch. Week 2. At home versus Philly. That's a dub. They're going to beat Philly. They're going to be looking for revenge. They're coming off a loss. At home. Fox game of the week. That's a win. Then they play at New York. That's obviously a win. Then they play home versus Baltimore. Then they're getting so lucky with these home games. They're playing home versus Baltimore. I think that's a loss. I think Baltimore comes in and gets revenge from last year. So now they're 2-2 going into Jacksonville on Monday Night Football. Everyone thinks Chiefs are going to win this game. Chiefs are going to walk in, easy money, walk out of Jacksonville with a dub. Nope, trap game. They lose that game on Monday Night Football. Jacksonville, for some reason, plays lights out. They look amazing. They win that game. Then, Week 6 versus Detroit at home. They win that game. 3-3. Right? 1-1, 1-1, 2-1, 2-2. Yep. Okay. 3-3 going into Las Vegas at home. That's a win. 4-3. Then they play Washington at home. That's an L. 4-4. Then they play. Actually, no, I lied. They beat Washington at home. They lose to Buffalo. So they're 5-4 going to the bye. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. 5-4 going to the bye. Typical Chiefs. Didn't the Chiefs like 2 years ago were like 5-4 at some point? 5-4 going to the bye. At Denver, they lose that game. 5-5. Come back, bounce back versus Indy. Beat them 6-5. Dallas on Thanksgiving. That's an L. They're getting spanked by Dallas on Thanksgiving. Oh my God, that might be a Thanksgiving massacre. 6-6 going into Houston. Bounce back game. That's a win. 7-6 going into Los Angeles. That's a win. They don't get swept by the Chargers this year. 8-6 now. Tennessee, easy dub. 9-6. Denver, they're not getting swept by Denver. 10-6. Then they play Las Vegas, which most likely they're probably going to be resting their starters because they're going to be 10-6. They're not going to be fighting for the 1 seed. They're not going to be fighting for the 2 seed. They're not going to be fighting for the 3 seed. They're going to have the 4 seed already locked up, maybe. Or no, they're not because the Chargers win the division. So they're going to be fighting for the 5 seed. So they might play the starters. So I'm going to give them a win on that game. They finish 11-6. They make the playoffs. The hot take was they missed the playoffs. I disagree. I think they make the playoffs. I don't think they win the division, but they make the playoffs. I think the AFC West might have 3 teams making the playoffs this year, which I don't think is a hot take because they might have the best division in the league or in the NFL. Is the AFC West the best division in the league? It might be. All right, moving on. That was not a bad take. That was close. I don't hate that take by Dominic, but I do think they make the playoffs. All right, moving on. Washington wins the NFC East, but Dallas comes in second. That's really the hot take there. So we have a little Dallas slander, boys. Got a little Dallas slander. Let's jump into the Commander schedule. Now, you know my positioning. I think the Cowboys win the division, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe let's see what the Commanders are working with. All right, we got New York week 1. That's a dub. We got Green Bay short week at Green Bay. That's a loss. Yikes, that's a hard game. 1-1. Then they come back home, long week, Las Vegas. That's a dub, 2-1. Then they play at Atlanta. I'll give them that's a dub. That's a dub, 3-1. Then they play at Chargers. That's an L. That's a tough away game, 3-2. Then they play home Monday Night Football for Chicago. That is a dub, 4-2. Then they play in Dallas. That's an L, 4-3. Then they play in KC. That's an L, 4-4. Then they played Seattle at home. Thank God they're not in Seattle. That's a dub, 5-4. Then they played Detroit at home. I think I had them winning this game. I forget what I did the Detroit schedule, but I think they won this game. So they're what, 6-4 now? Because that's an L, 6-4 going into Miami. Oh no, this is not Miami. This is overseas. I think this is Germany. I think they lose this game. I think they lose this game versus Miami and Germany. So 6-5 going to the bye. 6-5 going to the bye. Then they play Denver at home, Sunday Night Football. Did I give Denver the win here? I forget already. I'm going to give the Commanders the win because they have the throwback unis on. 7-5 going into Minnesota. That's an L. 7-6. 8-6 after New York because that's an easy dub. They play Philly at home. That's an L. I don't think they're better than Philly yet. So 7 losses now. Then they play Dallas at home Thursday night on Christmas. Oh, it's not Thursday night. It's on Christmas. That's an L. I think Dallas gives them the work on Christmas. Dak probably throws for like 400 yards. CD probably has like 150 yards and 2 touchdowns. GP probably has a quiet game with like 90 yards and a touchdown. I think that's an L. So that's 8 losses. And then they lose to Philly. So that's 9 losses. So I got the Commanders not winning the NFC East. I actually got them losing and finishing 3rd in the NFC East at 8-9. That might be a hot take, but that's where I got the Commanders. I don't think they win the NFC East, and I think they finish 3rd. Moving on. Bryce. This is a comic one, boys. We're gonna laugh at this one. Let's all point and laugh at Bryce. Bryce says the Giants are playoff contenders this year. Does anyone, and I mean anyone, agree with Bryce in the chat right now? Does anyone agree with Bryce? Are the Giants playoff contenders? Are the Giants playoff contenders? Does anyone agree with Bryce? Oh, I'm seeing some laugh. People are laughing. Oh, I see it. I agree with Bryce. All right, let's look at the schedule. They got Washington week 1. That's an L. They got Dallas week 2. That's an L. They got KC week 3. That's an L. Why is this schedule so hard? They got the Chargers week 4. That's an L. Do the Giants piss somebody off at the NFL? Why is the schedule like insanely hard? They got an easy one, but it's still in New Orleans. Week 5. That's an L. It's in New Orleans. That's a hard game. So they're 0-5 going into Philly. That's an L. 0-6. In Denver. That's an L. 0-7. In Philly. That's an L. 0-8. Oh my goodness. Versus San Fran. That's an L. 0-9. Versus Chicago at Chicago. That's an L. 0-10. Playing Green Bay at home, it doesn't matter. That's an L. 0-11. Then they're in Detroit. That's an L. 0-12. Then they're in New England on Monday night, which is the grossest Monday night game of all time. That's an L. 0-13 going to the bye. The Giants are 0-13 going to the bye. Then they play Washington. That's an L. 0-14. Then they have Minnesota. That's an L. Then I would give them a win versus Las Vegas, but they're in Las Vegas. And the Giants are probably going to be trying to be losing. That's an L. And then they play Dallas, which they're probably going to be trying to lose to get the number 1 pick. And they already got it locked up because they're going 0-17 this year. It's not possible for the Giants to be playoff contenders this year because they're not going to win a game. That is unfortunate. I don't see the Giants winning 1 game this year. Don't see them winning 1 game. That is unbelievable. We might see an 0-17 this year, boys. We might see an 0-17 team this year. And it might be the New York Football Giants. Moving on. All right. We got Daniel. Oh, no, 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 Daniel. This is not a good... It's a bad take by Daniel. It's a bad take by Daniel, boys. It's a bad take. Be ready for this bad take by Daniel. He says... Daniel says, the Steelers have the worst uniforms in the NFL, and I'm talking about the new throwbacks. Does anyone agree with Daniel? Does anyone agree with Daniel? Before I get into my take. Daniel says the worst throwback unis in the league are the Steelers' new throwback unis. Actually, the worst unis in the league at all are the Steelers' throwback unis. You're telling me these beautiful, unbiased, of course, beautiful 1933 history throwback Steeler unis are the ugliest, worst NFL unis in the league. When there are these out there. Nope, it's not even the unis. That's not even the unis. Hold on, where's these? There it is. See? See, even this boy knows. Hold on, where's the unis? Show me the unis. Show me the unis. Where are the new unis? When these exist, notice how I look up Browns poop unis and they pop up? Do you notice how when I do that, they pop up? You're telling me these are better than these. Your Steeler hatred boys are showing, because these are not better than these, and I know for a fact that these, hold up, let me show you the worst unis in the league right now. I know for a fact, for a fact, where are they? Come on, get the Burge. Man, this is tough. Why are they not pinned? For a fact, dude, where are these things? Where are these ugly uniforms? Nah, I don't like that picture. I know for a fact these are not better than these. As an unbiased Steeler fan, I know for a fact these are not better than these. So that hot take by Daniel, I disagree. I don't even think they're close to the worst unis in the league. Like I said, they're probably the best. If you just put your Steeler hatred bias aside, they are the best unis in the league. They are not even close to the worst unis in the league when these things exist and the Browns poop jerseys exist. They can't be possible. All right, moving on. Chase, okay, this is actually, I mean, it's kind of a hot take. Chase says, not a hot take at all, but the Eagles are going back to back. He's wrong. They're not going back to back. The Eagles are not going back to back because the Cowboys got better. The Cowboys are going to win the division. The Eagles are not going to win the division. They're going to have to play on the road the whole playoffs when they make the playoffs. And they lost 8 defensive players. And I hate to say it, but they got lucky with injuries last year. They were a very healthy team. And that's usually how you win in the NFL. You have to stay healthy. And I don't think that's going to happen again this year, unfortunately. It's injury luck is not, it's hard to go back to back because of injury luck. So unfortunately, they're probably not going to be as healthy as they were last year. And then, like I said, the Cowboys are going to be better this year. The Niners are going to be better this year. The Packers may be better this year. And they're losing. They lost a couple guys on defense. Like I said, the injuries might pile up. I don't think they go back to back. I could see it not being a hot take, especially if you're an Eagles fan. But I don't think they go back to back. Moving on. Evan, JJ McCarthy, going to start off the year in MVP talks. Well, let's see. Let's just look at their first 6 games, because let's see if he can have MVP numbers versus their first 6 games. Where is the Vikings? So he says JJ McCarthy will be in MVP talks. They have Chicago at Chicago. He could have a good game there. They have Atlanta at home. He could have a good game there. Versus Cincy at home. He could have a good game there. Versus Pittsburgh in Ireland. He will not have a good game there. Versus Cleveland in somewhere overseas. He might have a good game. So he has the potential to have 4 pretty good games in his first 5 games. I could see it. But again, I don't think he's going to be MVP talks because he's coming off an injury. He's basically a rookie. And he hasn't played an NFL snap yet. Basically, a regular season game. So I don't think he'll be in MVP talks, but he might have a good season. You never know. But I think he definitely has a chance to have pretty good games for Chicago, Atlanta, Cincy with a trash defense, and Cleveland maybe. But Pittsburgh, Philly, Chargers, Detroit, Baltimore after that, I think if he does somehow start in the MVP conversation, he's going to fall off pretty quickly, especially with those games. All right, next one. Luke, coming from a Rams fan. This is coming from a Rams fan. He says, Brock Purdy will win MVP this year. How do you feel about Brock Purdy winning MVP? Does Brock Purdy win MVP? Now, I don't hate this take. I don't think he will MVP. But the reason why I don't hate this take is because look how easy the Niners' schedule is. Look how easy this schedule is. This schedule, the NFL gave the Niners the easiest schedule possibly of all time. At Seattle, that's a dub. At New Orleans, that's a dub. Versus Arizona, that's a dub. Versus Jacksonville, that's a dub. At LA, Thursday Night Football, that's an L. 4-1. At Tampa, that's an L. 4-2. At home versus Atlanta, 5-2. At Houston, 6-2. At New York, 7-2. At home versus Los Angeles, 8-2. At Arizona, 9-2. Carolina at home, 10-2. At Cleveland, hopefully Cleveland's rocking the poop jerseys, 11-2. Versus Tennessee, 12-2. At Indy, they probably somehow lose that game. 12-3 versus Chicago on NBC, Sunday Night Football for some reason. That's a dub. 13-3. Then they lose Seattle. I got the Niners going 13-4. Now, with the Niners going 13-4, that probably means Brock Purdy has a good year because they play absolute dog the whole season and they have the easiest schedule in the NFL for some reason. So Brock Purdy might get MVP. That's not a crazy take. I don't even think that's a hot take. I don't think that's a hot take. But I don't think he wins MVP, but I don't think it's a hot take, especially with the Niners having the easiest schedule in the NFL for some reason, and they're probably going to go 13-4 and probably win the division, which probably means Brock Purdy has a good year. Moving on. All right. So that was all my Snapchat ones. Now let's take a look at my Instagram ones. I haven't even looked at my Instagram ones yet. This is going to be like first reactions of my Instagram ones. So now we're going into my Instagram ones, boys. All right. Let me see if any hot takes. Cowboys. Okay. Here we go. Here's a hot take. Cody says Cowboys might actually have a chance this year. And what he means by that, I'm guessing, is they have a chance at the Super Bowl. Let's look at the Cowboys schedule. Do you guys agree with Cody? Do the Cowboys have a chance this year to run the table and win the Super Bowl? Let's take a gander at the Cowboys 2025 NFL schedule. We got Philly, week 1. That's a dub. I think they're going to spoil the Eagles ring ceremony thing. I think they're going to be mad. I think they're going to be coming out aggressive. And I think they're going to spoil that ring ceremony. Then week 2 versus New York, the winless Giants. Not winning a game this year. That's a dub, 2-0. Then they play Chicago at Chicago. That might be a tough game. I still give them the dub, 3-0. Then they play Green Bay at home, Sunday Night Football. That's going to be a great game. They're at home. That's a dub, 4-0. At New York, that's an easy dub, 5-0. At Carolina, that's an easy dub, 6-0. Versus Washington at home, they win that game, 7-0. At Denver, that's a tough game. They lose that game, 7-1. Then they bounce back versus Arizona Monday Night Football. Oh, my goodness. I could see it now. Please, someone clip this if it happens. Dak's going to throw for like 400 yards versus Arizona. CD's going to have like 170 yards, and GP's going to have 100 yards. Watch. I guarantee they light up Arizona on Monday night. I guarantee it. So that's a dub. So 1-0, 2-0, 3-0, 4-0, 5-0, 6-0, 7-0, 7-1, 8-1. So now we got 8-1. Then they go again Monday Night Football again for some reason versus Las Vegas. That's a dub. 9-1. Then they're going to lose to Philly. So 9-2. Then they beat KC on Thanksgiving, 10-2. Then they beat Detroit, 11-2. Then they beat Minnesota, 12-2. Then they lose to the Chargers, 12-3. Beat Washington on Christmas. Another great game, probably by Dak and CD and company. And then they beat the Giants. So that's 14 wins, right? 1 loss, 2 loss, 3 loss. Yeah. So I have the Cowboys going 14-3. So I do have them running the table. Unfortunately, again, I hate to say it, but I think the Cowboys have a great team this year. I hate to say it. And I think they probably get the number 1 seed, and they probably win the division, and they probably go to the Super Bowl if they all stay healthy. So I don't think Cody saying Cowboys might have an actual chance this year, I don't think it's a hot take. I think it's a great take. All right, moving on. Wow, that's actually facts. I'm going to read this real quick because we already kind of went over this. But Zah says Ravens go 15-2, Steelers go 13-4. They have a heated game in the AFC champion. Winner wins all. I'm already with you, Zah. I think that happens. I don't think that's a hot take. I think that's very possible. I think the Steelers and Ravens both have a really good year this year. I think their Week 18 matchup comes down to the division, and whoever wins that game wins the division. And then they probably meet again in the playoffs, and it's going to be cinema. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be very good this year. Moving on. Raiders go to the playoffs, says IGAN. Ice, appreciate the sub, man. I don't even think I'm going to go into the Raiders making the playoffs, but I'll go into it. He says the Raiders go to the playoffs. Let's take a look at the Raiders schedule. I don't know if I agree with that, but I'll take a look. Just because I'm being generous. So the Raiders have at New England, that's an L. Versus Chargers, that's an L, 0-2. At Washington, that's an L, 0-3. Versus Chicago, I'll give them a win. They're 1-3. At Indy, 1-4. Versus Tennessee, 2-4. At KC, 2-5. Versus Jacksonville, 2-6. At Denver, 2-7. Versus Dallas, 2-8. Versus Cleveland, 3-8. At LA, 3-9. Versus Denver, 3-10. Versus Philly, at Philly, 3-11. At Houston, 3-12. 4-12 versus New York, and then they probably finish the season 4-13. So I think the Raiders probably finish 4-13. That's no hate on the Raiders. I don't think they're really trying to. I mean, they're trying to win, obviously, but I don't think having a high draft pick again is a bad thing for them. And I don't think they make the playoffs this year. So I think that's a hot take, and I think they go 14-3. Unfortunately for Raider fans. Moving on. We already went over that. Joe Burrow wins MVP, and the Super Bowl, says Mason. Now, he's not winning the Super Bowl. They don't have the team for that. But let's see if he could win MVP, because I do have him in my MVP conversation. It all matters on how much wins the Bengals get. Let's see how much wins the Bengals can get. At Cleveland, that's a win. Actually, no, that's an L. For some reason, they lose at Cleveland like every week one. I don't know why. That's an L. Then they play at Jacksonville at home. That's a win, 1-1. Then they play at Minnesota, L, 1-2. Then they play at Denver, 1-3. Then they play versus Detroit, 1-4. Then they play Green Bay, 1-5. Then they play Pittsburgh, bounce back win. It's a hard game for Pittsburgh, 2-5. Then they play New York, 3-5. Then they play Chicago, 4-5. Then they play at Pittsburgh, 4-6. Then they play versus New England, 5-6. Then they play at Baltimore, that's an L, 5-7. Then they play at Buffalo, 5-8. That's crazy. Who gave the Bengals Baltimore and Buffalo back-to-back, both away games? Then they play Baltimore again, that's an L. That is insane. They have Baltimore, Buffalo, Baltimore. That is crazy. Those are all L's. Those are all L's. And then they play at Miami. It's probably an L. Then they play versus Arizona. I'll give them a win. And I'll give them a win versus Cleveland. So they have how many losses? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Does Burrow get MVP with the Bengals going 7-10? I don't know. They're not making the Super Bowl, and they're not winning the Super Bowl, and they're probably not making the playoffs because they're going to go 7-10. Burrow would have to throw for 6,000 yards, basically, to get MVP. So if Burrow throws for 6,000 yards and they go 7-10, he gets MVP. If not, he's not getting MVP. But it's definitely going to be hard because they're not making the playoffs, and usually they give MVPs to people that make the playoffs. Moving on. Who's next? Who is next? Trying to find one that I didn't answer already. I found one right now. I'm not going to answer it. Giants are a very underrated team and are actually good. The schedule is just holding them back. Yeah, the schedule is a big part of the reason why they're going 0-17, brother. That's why they're going 0-17. They have the hardest schedule in the league. They might be okay, but they're going 0-17, unfortunately. Not really a hot take, but Steelers to the Super Bowl. We already went over that. CeeDee MVP and Pickens Offensive Player of the Year. Saints aren't the worst team. I don't hate that take because I think the Giants are the worst team. Broncos win a playoff game and possibly make it to the AFC Championship game. We already went over the Broncos. I think we have them finishing 10-7, or 11-6, either or. I think it was. I don't think they win the NFC West because I think the Chargers win the AFC West. But you never know. They could win the AFC playoff game. I don't think they make it to the AFC Championship game, but you never know. We have Seahawks. My boy, Mr. Do It All, says Seahawks win the NFC West. Take a look at the Seahawks schedule. I do not agree with that. I think the Niners win the NFC West because they have the easiest schedule like all time. But let's see what the Seahawks schedule is looking like. All right, week 1, that's an L versus the San Francisco 49ers. Week 2 at Pittsburgh, that's an L. 0-2. They get a bounce back win versus New Orleans at home, 1-2. They play in Arizona, that's an L, 1-3. They get a bounce back win versus Tampa Bay, 2-3. They play at Jacksonville, that's a win, 3-3. They play versus Houston Monday Night Football, I think. Oh, it's a late game, 10 p.m. Monday Night Football game in Seattle. Wow. That's a win. So they're 4-3 going to the bye. That's not bad. Then they play at Washington. That's an L, 4-4. They play Arizona at home, 5-4. LA in LA, 5-5. That's a loss. Then they play in Tennessee. That's a win, 6-5. Then they play Minnesota at home. That's an L, 6-6. They play in Atlanta. That's an L, 6-7. They play versus Indy. That's a dub, 7-7. They play the no, that's not the Chargers. The Rams at home. I think they bounced back previously when they lost the Rams week 11. So that's a win. Then they play at Carolina. That's a loss. And then they play at San Fran. That's a loss. So I had them losing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 games. The Seahawks are not winning the NFC West because they're going 7-10. But they might have a competitive season, but I think they go 7-10. Right around 500. It's not bad, but they're not winning the NFC West. Moving on. Baker Mayfield says, G. Willie, Baker Mayfield wins MVP. How are we feeling about Baker Mayfield winning MVP? Now, he definitely could put up the numbers, but it's hard to compete with Burrow, Dak, Lamar, Mahomes, and all those guys as Baker Mayfield. It's going to be hard. I got to look at their schedule. Let's see their schedule real quick. It really depends because, like, to win MVP, you have to win your division and you have to have at least 11 wins. At least. They play Atlanta. That's an L. They play Houston. That's an L. They play New York. That's a dub. They play first Philly. That's an L, 1-3. They play at Seattle. That's a win, 2-3. They play San Fran. That's an L, 2-4. No, I think I had them winning that game, 3-4. Versus Detroit, at Detroit, that's an L, 3-5. At New Orleans, that's a win, 4-5. Versus New England, that's a win, 5-5. At Buffalo, 5-6, 5-7, 6-7, 7-7, 8-7, 8-8, 9-8. I'm wrong. It's 9-7. My bad. 9-7, 10-7. So they might go 10-7 or 9-8. I don't think they win the division. Or they might win the division, but I don't think Baker gets MVP at 9-8 or 10-7. So I don't think he wins MVP. So that's a hot take. Moving on. All right, we kind of went over these already. Okay, here we go. CeeDee. Dylan says CeeDee Lamb is not a top 8 receiver in the NFL. Do you guys agree with that? Is CeeDee Lamb a top 8 receiver in the NFL, or is he not a top 8 receiver? Top 8. He's definitely a top 8. I mean, I'll do my list again, but he's for sure top 8. Is CeeDee Lamb a top 8 receiver in the NFL? Dylan says he's not. Let's take a gander at the receivers. So we have Jefferson, top 8. We have Jamar, top 8. We have A.J. Brown, top 8. We have DK Metcalf, top 8. We have... Where is he? CeeDee, where is he? So, yeah, CeeDee's definitely top 8 because he's top 5. So, he has to be top 5. And you could probably interchange CeeDee with AJ, or CeeDee with DK, or CeeDee with AJ. You could probably... He probably floats around 3 to 5. So, he definitely is a top 8 receiver. So, Dylan is wrong with that take. That is a hot take because he's wrong. All right. We're going to do a couple more, and then we're going to get into the Super Bowl predictions from Burge. Let me find one that's a good one that I haven't read already. RJ says, Jets will have a winning season. Well, this was probably before the Justin Fields news. The Justin Fields news. Do we agree with the Jets having a winning season? I don't know. Schedule is looking a little tough. They play in the AFC West. They play with Buffalo. Let's dive in. All right, week 1 versus Pittsburgh. Justin Hurts probably going to be out. Justin Fields probably going to be out. So that's an L. Week 2 versus Buffalo. That's an L. Week 3 at Tampa. That's an L. 0-3. Week 4 at Miami, Monday Night Football. That's disgusting. Week 4, that's an L. Week 5 versus Dallas. That's an L. Week 6 versus Denver. That's an L. Week 7 versus Carolina. That's an L. Week 8 at Cincy. That's an L. The Jets are 0-8. So, if he's right, the Jets will have to go undefeated from their bye week on to have a winning season. Week 10 versus Cleveland. They get their first dub of the year. They're 1-8. At New England. That's an L. 1-9. At Baltimore. That's an L. They're going to get smacked by Baltimore. 1-10. Versus Atlanta at home. I'll give them a win. 2-10. Versus Miami at home. I'll give them a win. 3-10. At Jacksonville. That's an L. At New Orleans. That's a dub. 4-11. Versus New England. That's a dub. 5-11. And then they close off the season losing to Buffalo, going 5-12. Fighting for a top 5 pick yet again because the Jets always fight for a top 5 pick for some reason because they are cursed. So I do not see them going 500, unfortunately for Jets fans. Pray for the Jets fans out there, boys. They are cursed. All right, we'll do one more. Let me see. Bills finally will win the Super Bowl this year, says E-Cape or E-Capa or E-Kappa, someone like that. Let's take a look at the Bills schedule. Let's take a gander at it. All right. Buffalo Bills schedule 2025. They verse Baltimore at home. That's an L. Then they play the Jets on the road. That's a dub, 1-1. Then they play Miami at home, 2-1. Then they play New Orleans at home again. That's so easy, 3-1. Then they play New England at home again, 4-1. Then they play at Atlanta Monday night. That's a dub. 5-1, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So they're 5-1 going into the bye. Then they play at Carolina. That's a dub. 6-1. Then they play KC at home. That's a dub. 7-1. Then they play at Miami. They lose that game. 7-2. Versus Tampa Bay, bounce back win. 8-2. At Houston. 8-3. That's a tough game. Then they play at Pittsburgh. Another tough game. 8-4. Then they play Cincy, bounce back win, 9-4, beat New England, 10-4, beat Cleveland, 11-4, lose to Philly, 11-5, and then they beat the Jets. So that I have the Bills going 12-5. So the Bills go 12-5. Do they make the Super Bowl at 12-5? I don't think they do, but they can. I have them winning the division, and I have them making the playoffs, so it's possible. But I don't think they win the Super Bowl this year. All right. We are moving on to